This is Eyewitness News.
World COVID-19 cases nearly double in a week and praises for Saul Kiesner. Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. Coronavirus cases have passed the 300,000 grim milestone according to a tally by Johns Hopkins University. Countries are warning citizens to stay at home and tighten measures in an attempt to slow the spread of the virus. Rwanda is now on lockdown for 14 days. The office of the Prime Minister says no one is allowed to leave their homes unless it's to seek medical attention or buy food. All borders are closed and only returning citizens are allowed back into the country and will be quarantined for 14 days. Italy reported its biggest one-day increase yesterday since the outbreak, with nearly 800 more deaths. Over 13,000 people have died since the COVID-19 outbreak last year, with almost 100,000 recoveries recorded globally. Here at home, 240 people are now being treated. Yesterday, the Eastern Cape reported its first infection, while Gauteng has 125 cases. 2 people in KwaZulu-Natal have now recovered. The majority of those infected here on home soil are people who had travelled to Europe. Ntakwana reports.
The country's first coronavirus case, a 38-year-old man and his 38-year-old wife, have now tested negative for COVID-19 after undergoing treatment. But more cases of people between 21 and 60 are being picked up. 63 patients are between 31 and 40 years old. 57 are between the ages of 51 and 60. There's so far only one person between 81 and 90, and 10 between the ages of 71 and 80. Ntakwana Ngatane, Eyewitness News.
Meanwhile, a South African couple has been left stranded and stuck on a luxury cruise liner in Italy, where it's believed a passenger died after contracting the coronavirus. Sue and Paul Cloak boarded the vessel last month. It has been reported that the deceased passenger disembarked the vessel in Grand Cayman. Kevin Bryant reports.
The Mpumalanga couple went on a cruise to celebrate Paul Cloak's 70th birthday. The vessel has now docked at its final destination in Savona, Italy, but during the trip, the couple learned of a fellow passenger's death, a man who disembarked at the Cayman Islands. He was the territory's first COVID-19 death. Sue Klook says 2 passengers who have also fallen ill disembarked the ship in Puerto Rico. The couple's son, Tim Klook, says he has no idea what will happen now.
I don't know what's going to happen in Italy, because how are they going to dock there with the country in lockdown? And how would they fly out of Italy with the country in total lockdown?
The couple says they have not been tested for coronavirus yet, but are being taken care of. Kevin Brond, Eyewitness News.
And the family of internationally renowned hotel tycoon Saul Kiesner says he has left an indelible mark in the hospitality industry globally. The Southern Sun Hotel Group and Sun International founder died of cancer at his estate in Cape Town yesterday. He was 84. Edwin Sidi takes a look at his life.
Saul Kiesner's passion of the hospitality industry began in 1962 when he bought a small establishment in Durban. He later founded Kiesner International, Southern Sun Hotel Group, as well as Sun International. He arranged the VIP function during President Nelson Mandela's inauguration in 1994. Family spokesperson Ian Douglas says he will be remembered for the role he played in the business fraternity.
Kiesner was a legend, and his impact on the international hospitality industry cannot be understated.
He is survived by his children, Andrea, Beverly, Brandon, and 10 grandchildren. His family says he will be buried at a small private funeral attended only by his immediate family. Edwin in City, Eyewitness News.
It's a partly cloudy Sunday in Gauteng with isolated afternoon thunder showers expected. Johannesburg starting at a low of 14, reaching a high of 26. Pretoria 15 and 28. Vereeniging 14 and 24.
In your sports, Paulo Dybala becomes the 3rd Juventus player to test positive for coronavirus as calls mount for the Olympic Games to be postponed by a year. And SASCOC's nominations committee to decide on Alex Kosana's bid for the presidency.
The top story in Eyewitness News this hour: coronavirus cases have passed the 300,000 grim milestone according to a tally by Johns Hopkins University, as countries are warning citizens to stay at home and tighten measures in an attempt to slow the spread of the virus.
Eyewitness News, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, log on to ewn.co.za or ewn.mobi.
Avoid fake news.
Q with the BBC News. Hundreds of millions of people.
BBC World Service, it's 11 o'clock GMT. This is Oliver Conway with the newsroom. India imposes a curfew to combat the coronavirus.
If you believe that you're okay and nothing can happen to you, and you can continue roaming around in markets and streets as usual, then this thinking is wrong.
We go live to Delhi. Meanwhile, Iran rejects an offer of American help, with Ayatollah Khamenei repeating conspiracy theories that the virus was created by the US. Also on the newsroom, a new way to reduce panic buying.
A lot of people have been emailing us with questions like, what if my sheet has loads more rolls? What if there's loads of people in my house? And we put a button called Advanced Options.
In other news, the UN suggests that more efficient water use could help the fight against climate change. And
what would we do without you? How would we ever get through?
Broadway legend Stephen Sondheim turns 90. First, our top stories.
Hello, I'm Eileen Q with the BBC News. Hundreds of millions of people in India have stayed indoors in response to the government's call for a lockdown to combat the transmission of coronavirus. Cities and towns across India appear deserted. Public transport, including domestic flights, have been brought to a halt for the 14-hour curfew. Zubair Ahmed is in Delhi.
Only emergency services are allowed to function, and people have stocked up since day before yesterday, since the Prime Minister announced this step. Today, if you want to go out, maybe you'll just get medicines, and if you want to go to a hospital, you might be allowed to go. But if you're just venturing out, socializing, that is not allowed. I have met people who have been preparing for this 5 p.m. event, when everybody, the Prime Minister, as he requested, will come out on their balconies and start ringing bells in honor of the emergency services staff.
Sri Lanka has banned all incoming passenger flights and ships to contain the spread of coronavirus. The President's office, however, said restricted departure flights would operate as usual. Sri Lanka has reported 77 cases. A number of large churches in South Korea appear to have defied government requests to cancel Sunday services in the wake of the outbreak. South Korea recorded 98 new cases of the virus on Sunday, down from a high of 909 new infections confirmed in one day in late February. Celia Hatton reports.
The state news agency Yonhap says church leaders asked worshippers to stand meters apart and to wear face masks. The country's culture minister met church officials at a large Protestant church in Seoul, repeating an earlier call for religious leaders to move church services online. South Korea's leaders have warned several times that they'll have to impose stricter quarantine orders and closures if South Koreans ignore government advice to avoid large gatherings.
The supreme leader of Iran, Ayatollah Khamenei, has rejected a US offer of humanitarian assistance as his country tackles one of the worst
a conspiracy theory that's been making the rounds that the US itself created the virus. He said that if the US provided Iran with a drug against it, it might in fact be intended to ensure that the coronavirus remained in Iran permanently. Despite the bravura of the Ayatollah's words, there's no doubt that Iran is struggling to deal with one of the most virulent outbreaks.
Iran says 129 people have died in the past 24 hours, raising the official deaths to 1,685. World News from the BBC. Rwanda has imposed strict measures in response to the pandemic, closing all borders and banning people from travelling inside the country. Bars, markets and shops are closed, apart from those selling essential goods. Ghana will close its borders to all but goods vehicles from midnight local time. Australia has become the latest country to announce a stimulus package to safeguard its economy from the effects of the pandemic. Australia's Prime Minister is Scott Morrison.
The package of measures, combined with those we've already announced, sums to some $189 billion, around 10% of the size of our economy. 10% of the size of our economy. That is unprecedented.
president would be considering later today what he called more draconian measures to enforce social distancing. The move to restrict people's movements comes after thousands of people flocked to Australia's beaches in recent days. Maoist rebels in central India have killed at least 17 police commandos in an ambush in the state of Chhattisgarh. A senior police officer said dozens of security personnel set out after getting a tip-off about a gathering of the rebels in a forest area. The Maoists launched a ferocious assault when the special forces reached the spot. The Croatian government is telling people to stay indoors, but not too close to each other, after 2 earthquakes hit the Zagreb area earlier this morning. The Interior Minister urged people to resist the temptation to try to be together out of solidarity because of the threat of coronavirus. He said it was a more challenging crisis to deal with than the quakes. The tremors damaged several buildings in Zagreb. BBC News.
Thanks very much. You're listening to the Newsroom from the BBC World Service with Oliver Conway. Even though it has had relatively few cases of the coronavirus so far, India, with its vast population, could quickly become overwhelmed if the pandemic takes hold there. The danger is especially acute in India's crowded cities, and so the government has asked the nation's 1.3 billion people to observe a 14-hour curfew to curb the spread of the virus and to test the nation's ability to cope. Prime Minister Narendra Modi warned people against complacency.
अगर आपको लगता है कि आप ठीक हैं, आपको कुछ नहीं होगा.
If you believe that you're okay and nothing can happen to you, and you can continue roaming around in markets and streets as usual and remain unaffected by coronavirus, then this thinking is wrong. By doing this, you will not only be unjust to yourself, but also to your family.
At the same time, the commercial capital Mumbai is to stop local train services for at least a week from midnight tonight. They are hugely packed, of course. 5 people have died in India from coronavirus so far. Let's go to Delhi, our correspondent Zubair Ahmed. And what is the city like at the moment? Are people obeying this curfew?
Yes, of course. Delhi is like a ghost city, and I'm hearing many other places in India are complete lockdown. Millions of people across the country have been staying at home after the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi once again reiterated that people should observe the day-long voluntary curfew. The streets and markets are completely deserted. Metro services in big cities, interstate buses, and even passenger trains have all been cancelled until the end of March. People have, of course, welcomed the Prime Minister's move, but many see it as a dress rehearsal for longer period lockdowns in the coming days and weeks if the pandemic hits harder in India.
Yeah, is this just a one-off at the moment? Because India only has roughly, 300 cases or so?
370 cases and 6 deaths so far, but the number has started shooting up since Friday, and I'm hearing that because the tests here are done in a different way from, let's say, in South Korea or Hong Kong and Singapore. If you have symptoms of the flu and you have just come back from abroad, only then you are tested. If you have the symptoms and you haven't been abroad, you are not tested. And the health experts are warning that that is not the right way to go about it. You have to start testing in the communities, and once that happens, health experts believe that the number can shoot up dramatically.
And you are self-isolating. How have you found it so far?
Well, it's been very quiet. I've been on air several times this morning. No phone calls, nobody's around. There are people in India start coming, helpers in the house since morning, but no one has turned up. And the streets are very quiet here around my area. The guards in the locality are also, they've just gone home perhaps.
Zubair, many thanks indeed, Zubair Ahmed there, live from Delhi. Iran is by far the worst affected nation in the Middle East. In the past hour or so, a spokesman for the Iranian Health Ministry said 129 people had died from coronavirus in the past 24 hours, taking the official total to nearly 1,700. But in a speech to mark the Iranian New Year, the Supreme Leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, rejected American offers of help.
As جمله موضوعات مربوط به کرونا که بعد نیست من این رو اینجا بگم این است که آمریکایی ها چند بار تا حالا سران آمریکا